I am Victoria L. Burson. This is Leadership on the Go. Leadership is not always preparedness for the unknown, but it is tapping into the unknown prepared. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, if you will. And if you are watching from wherever you are watching from, please let us know where you are hailing from, whether it's Baltimore, California. We're trying to touch all regions, and we just want to know those places that we are touching. I just want to say, listen, you are in for a special treat this evening. We have two of the most dynamic people on earth. And tonight's show is Leadership on the Go. It is about evolutionizing my greatness. We're still working on that series. And we have invited two of the most powerful 60 and seasoned leaders, 60 and up Black excellence, 60 and up Black excellence. And so tonight we're going to talk to two individuals who've been doing leadership most of their life. And they know leadership from the top of their head to the soles of their feet, if you will. And tonight's focus is really honing in on the importance of understanding self amid life experience. The importance of understanding self amid life experience. So we are so excited about what is going to happen tonight. And so, you know what, without further ado, let's just go ahead into our introduction. Listen, share, tag, and like right now. Share, tag, and like. I know there's a lot going on in the world, but this is a 1-hour program, and whatever they're going to miss, they can take it up from this point. But this is important. This is an important segment for us to watch. And so we're going to listen to seasoned leaders, Black excellent leaders talk about what it means to take care of self, what it means to hone in on self amid life experience. And both of them had some experiences. I have to tell you, they're personal friends of mine, but they are wonderful and dynamic leaders globally. Okay. And so let's start with Dr. Irie Sessions, right? This is a bad sister. Let me tell you. Not only is she a great friend of mine, but she is a wonderful, just a powerhouse. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio, if you will. Can I do that for you? Dr. Irie Sessions, an award-winning minister, pastor, author, TEDx presenter, spiritual entrepreneur, and womanist practitioner, was born in Hawkins, Texas, and raised in New York City housing projects. Hear what I'm saying, y'all. She is a church planter, a co-pastor of the Gathering, a womanist church of Christian Church Disciples of Christ in Dallas, Texas, a former president of the National Convocation of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. She's been a pastor with the Disciples of Christ for 17 years. Can I say that again? 17 years. Dr. Irie holds an undergrad degree in social work from Oklahoma Christian University, a Master of Divinity with certificate in Black Church Studies from Bright Divinity, and a Doctorate of Ministry from in Transformative Leadership and Prophetic Preaching from Colgate Rochester Crozer Divinity School, a mouthful, in Rochester, New York. Dr. Irie is the founder and CEO of Dream Big Coaching and Consulting Firm. Through her coaching, she strategizes with Black clergy women to use digital platforms, and she's very good at it, technology and social networks to leverage their professional expertise, experience, and skills. And she excavates their latent creativity to innovative capacities to become spiritual entrepreneurs. Boy, that was a mouthful. That was good. That was good. Dr. Irie is a professor for the course of study at Perkins School of Theology at Southern Methodist University, as an adjunct professor at Bright School of Texas Christian University. She is a 2019 recipient of $15,000 pastoral study project grant from Louisville Institute. Her research project was titled Womanist Ecclesiologies and Black Women Resisting White Supremacist Capitalist Patriarchy. Woo! She has a daughter, a loving, loving daughter. She is a loving, 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 adoring single mother of 28-year-old India. I was going to almost say India Irie, Lord Jesus, India Liana. Come on through, Dr. Irie Sessions, and talk to us. Thank you for being present.
So good to be here. So good to be here. How you doing?
I am wonderful. I am so excited about this conversation tonight, and that you are a special guest. I mean, I know you're blowing up. This is your season. You're everywhere. I mean, like everywhere. And when I get an opportunity, I try to listen to you, because I know what's going down like 4 flat tires, like Dr. Freddie O'Haines always say. I told him I stole that from him. He said, steal it.
Steal it.
I am so excited about you being present. Can you go ahead and give us, I mean, I know I read some of your stuff, but just let the people know what you're doing now, whatever you want to tell us in the next few seconds about what you're doing right now. We'll get into some learning more about you later, but what are you doing right now?
Well, right now I am serving as co-pastor, as you already mentioned, of the Gathering, a Womanist Church. And what my whole thinking right now is to do what I can to help people, particularly Black women, experience what it means to be free. And when I talk about freedom, I'm talking about economically, I'm talking about spiritually, I'm talking about emotionally, I'm talking about free from those structures of white supremacist capitalism and patriarchy, because I want women to be authentic. I want them to get comfortable with being their authentic selves, because it is out of that authenticity that life abundant can be experienced. Without authenticity, we're just trying to be somebody that we're not. And so I want to spend my last remaining hours, days, however much time God gives me, really making a difference that matters in helping people to be free.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I love the work that you're doing with that, both traditionally and non-traditionally, progressively, in church settings and outside of church settings, outside the academy. You're doing a whole lot of work. So I like that, how you are able to cross over into different territories.
Absolutely. One of the persons that was a leader that I really looked up to was this sister here in Dallas, Cynthia Nunn. And I worked for her in a nonprofit organization working with children and families living with HIV and AIDS. And one of the things she told me many years ago, she said, you've got to learn how to blend your life.
Yes.
Blend
your life.
Yes, blend every aspect of it. And so that's what I do. So whether
you're going to get a chance to share more of that, because I don't want you to tell too much of that. Blend your life, because I'm going to bring that up again. All right? Okay. Blend your life. This is what it's about. It's about, amid life experiences, understanding the power of self, particularly of us who are 50 and up, right? But this is about 60 and up. Woo, Lord Jesus, I'll be 60 next in a few months. Okay, we just saying. All right, so our next guest is Stephen LeMons. This is also a bad brother. I have worked with this brother personally. We are very, very close, but he is a powerhouse as well. And let me tell you a little bit about him. Stephen LeMons is an author, nationally recognized inspirational keynote speaker, and cancer survivor. His experience and travels have taken him over 14 countries and 49 states within the United States. He is one of the most dynamic and exciting speakers at corporate events and college campuses. Stephen's presentations are content rich and masterfully presented. His messages are sometimes explosive, yet always inspiring. And yes, they are provocative, engaging, tasteful, humorous. And he leaves the audience with unforgettable calls to action, which will be published in mid-April. He has also held key leadership position as National Training Director, National Training Manager, General Manager, Director of Corporate Development, television host, and segment producer. He is also the Director of Trinity River Writing and Learning Center at Tarrant County College, where we both work together in Fort Worth, Texas. Come on through, Stephen, and talk to our viewers and give us a little bit about who's and what you're doing, so we can get into this interview. Can you tell the people a little bit about yourself, a little more?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm really excited. And Dr. Irie, it's really good to meet you and everything as well. So I just would like to say, when you hear about your background and stuff, and there's so much more, what has gone on right now is that I have lost a lot of sleep. Why? Because this is the season of productivity. This is the season of coming through. This is the season of making your dreams come through, of being passionate about what it is you want to do. The pandemic hindered us in some ways and kept us indoors. But what that did was give us an idea to think more, to go introspective, to find out who we really are and what we want to become. Now that energy has to come out in explosive ways. And myself included, I cannot talk to anyone about anything that I don't do personally or put it out there. So right now I'm in a season of inspiration, of encouragement, and building programs and developing people, because that's what I'm here for. I see myself as a vessel of inspiration and encouragement to others. Being in a college, we see right now, and I see what the need is. And there is an incredible need that moves out into the community as well. One of the things that is very important about this season is that it is a season of completion. Whatever your ideas were during the pandemic, or I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that, this is the season of completion. And that's why it took me a while, but as you know, we talked about this before, but I finally completed my book, which is called The Incredible Journey of a Life. And in that, I talk about the things that created the leadership abilities, that honed those leadership abilities inside myself, that I've shared over the years, but this time coming back and looking at them on a larger platform, more so than ever. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm in the field doing a lot of work with students and developing that as I move into my next level. I've been in corporate development, as you mentioned. I've worked with companies like General Motors, BMW, Ford, Lincoln, and hundreds of dealer groups and dealerships across the United States. So I've learned a lot being in the rough and tumble automotive corporate world. So I'd like to share some more of that as we talk a little bit later today. And I'm just really excited and blessed to be here.
Well, I am excited that both of you here. And we also want to add to your repertoire, Stephen, that you also have produced magazines. I mean, published magazines. You've done some crafty magazines. I mean, it has been, top notch. And so I'm looking forward to your own magazine outside the college. But, it's been extremely great work. So let's get started with our questions. Can we?
Sure.
All right. So as it relates to leadership, how did you get here? And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this is like almost a 4 or 5 part question, and I did it intentionally. So I'm going to ask you one at a time, though. So as it relates to leadership, how did you get here at this place in your life right now? For example, who are you right now? I know you introduced yourself, but who are you like right now in this moment, like your identity? Who are you? And how did you get to this place right now? And who are you? Irie, Dr. Irie? So we can't hear you. Are you on mute? Unmute yourself.
Girl, I'm just talking.
I know it. Your hair moving and you're talking. That means you're saying something powerful. Go ahead and repeat yourself.
Okay. What I was going to say was I appreciate this question and being asked the I am question. And as I shared with you earlier, before we got on the call, I think it was yesterday, that I'm starting to want people to introduce me in a different way, not so much about what I am doing, but sort of in an I am situation or statement, because I am, at 62, I am still working on embracing all of who I am.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think that is so important. So I am, as you have said, I am a theologically trained and educated Black woman who has suffered and survived in a world where patriarchy is prioritized, right? Where racism marginalizes and white supremacy dehumanizes, right? So I've suffered and survived in that world. I am an empath, and I'm an introvert who is a survivor, right, of abuse. And I'm a single mother who gets along with my ex-husband, the father of my only child, India. I am a writer. I'm a scholar. I'm a pastor. I'm a womanist preacher. I'm a content creator. I'm a coach, consultant, and spiritual entrepreneur, right? I believe in Jesus, the brown-skinned radical revolutionary from Nazareth, and I believe in Black women. And so I invest in both. I invest my energy. I invest in my time. I invest my resources in learning about Jesus, in a way that presents him as someone who loved and loves Black women, right? And I am interested in, involved in, supporting, uplifting, bragging on Black women to help us all as a unit, as a community, reclaim our brilliance, reclaim our power, reclaim our creativity that this world has sought to rob us of and steal from us. And so everything that I'm doing right now, Victoria, is around those two things, right? It is around loving Jesus. It is around, and to me, that means, and I heard Tracy Blackman say this the other day, and I thought was so powerful, right? When someone asked her about being an activist, she said, no, I'm not an activist. She said, I'm a disciple. And I get that. And so I am a follower of Jesus, right? And I'm trying to live out my understanding of who he is and who he was and how he comported himself and lived life and was on the side of the oppressed and the marginalized, but spoke truth to power, right, to those systems that were oppressive, right? And for me, what I see is one of the most oppressed human beings on this planet are Black women. And so my efforts, my teaching, my preaching, my activism is all around leveling the playing field for Black women. Because when we do that, when Black women are liberated and set free, everybody else will be too, right? And so that's what I'm doing, without getting into some specific things. But generally speaking, that's what my life is about right now.
I think you answered all four of the questions. That's for sure. So thank you for that. And I appreciate the work that you've been doing. I've been part of your work. I've been knowing you since you've been doing this work. We met early 2000. So, I am grateful for your work. So Stephen, tell us what you're doing. And like right now, who are you right now?
Wow. Dr. Irie, that was amazing. When I think about who I am right now, I have to look at who and where I came from. A little poor boy in Atlanta, Georgia, with growing up with four brothers and a single parent in a household where basically we were supposed to be statistics. The only thing my mom could give us was God and love. And she did a pretty good job of that, growing through what we had to encounter, what I had to encounter. One thing I would say that she gave for me, when you talk about Black women, I can share and relate to that experience through my mother. And one thing that she did, that she loved us dearly. She bought us a set of World Book Encyclopedia before the internet, before all of these things, she bought us a set of World Book Encyclopedia because we couldn't watch television. So the World Book Encyclopedia, you started at the A's and you turned each page, and that was your escape. It gave you and planted inside of you a bigger vision than the one that you had, because you knew you could not live there. You couldn't stay there. You couldn't exist there. So the escape was to look at those pages in the World Book and look at places like Africa, look at foreign places that you wanted to go, but you never could. When we finally got a television set, I did not like foreign movies, but I learned to love them because I embraced where I was going, and I ended up going to different countries. I ended up traveling and knowing what it was like to walk the streets of Paris or London and develop friendships all over the world. I knew that I had a gift, and the gift I had was that ability to speak, to connect with people. And God, over time and over the years, helped me to develop that gift, to find my way through, to learn what it was like to communicate with other people and share what was on the inside of me. That did not come freely. It came with a price. And the price is the sacrifices, the suffering, the abuse, the things that I've had to go through in my life to become the person that I am. People, it's like a cake. Everybody likes cake. They love to taste it. It's beautiful. It tastes good and everything. But what are the ingredients that go into that cake to build it, to make it to what it is? So when they see you, they say, oh my gosh, oh, this is great. You do such great work. I love this workshop. I love the things that you do. But what is behind that? What did I have to go through? How many times did I have to get knocked down or worry about whether or not I was going to eat? I lost my family. I lost my job. I lost my career. I lost everything. And I wondered, what is the purpose of all of this, Lord? What is the purpose? Why am I going through this? And I realized over time that it's not just about me. It wasn't about me, but it's about the people that I can touch, because he kept me intact. He kept me from going off the deep end of becoming an addict or falling behind, but he kept me so that I could be a vessel to other people, so that I could encourage and inspire other people. And that's what my goal is. And that's what my job is right now. The inspiration and the encouragement and the building of other people through my own personal experiences.
Thank you so much, both of you, for that. You're answering all my questions in the first part, so I don't get to really ask the rest of them. I just want the audience to know we're really trying to find out, because this whole segment tonight is about self amid life experiences. And so our first question is, who are you, and who are you in this moment? The second question would have been, why are you here? And the third question to tack onto that, and where are you going? Why are you here? And you pretty much both answer that, but in just a little bit, if y'all could, kind of tone it in and hone it in and tell us, who are you? Where are you? Why are you here right now? And where are you going? In essence, how are you trending forward personally and professionally? I heard everything that you're doing. I know everything that you're doing, but we have some viewers out there that need some assistance right now for stick-to-itness. This life over 60, what is it? What is it like? And so what are you doing right now? Why are you here right now? What is your message for who you are? I mean, and Irie, you already pretty much told us that, your message. And so did you, Stephen. So, so if we have to pass that, why are you here? Then tell us, where are you going personally and professionally? And the reason I'm lining it up this way, because the questions get progressively harder around self and understanding life experiences, if you will.
Okay.
So go ahead, Dr. Irie.
Where am I going? That is such a good question. And, you know, I'm just going to be honest. In many ways, I don't know. In many ways, I am open.
Yes.
I am so open to where the Spirit moves, where the Spirit leads. I am open at this point in my life to trying to understand more of who I am. Because although I shared some things with you and our guests tonight about I am statements, there's so much about me and why I do what I do and how I feel about certain things that I don't even understand. So I am on a journey to understand myself more deeply, my motivations more deeply. One of the things that I have come to understand about myself, Vicki, is that I am a fighter.
Yes, you
Right?
are.
And let me give you some context, right? So my mom moved from Texas to the South Bronx. My brother and I would get run out from the park every day. We're from Texas. We didn't know nothing about, you know, standing up for ourselves and all that. My stepfather, who was a West Indian man, took us back to that park, gathered all the kids around. I was the oldest. He pointed to me and he pointed to them kids and he said, okay, now who wants to fight her?
Oh, wow.
He understood something that if I wanted to be in that park and play with all the other kids, that I had to stand up for myself. And the way to do that in the South Bronx back then, we're talking, you know, many, many years ago, was I had to fight the biggest and baddest sister that was in there, which I did. And I guess because my father was standing next to me, my stepfather was standing next to me, that's a spiritual image right there, right? I won the fight. But what that taught me, Victoria, was that I had within me the ability to fight for myself. And not only was I fighting for myself for the right to be present in a particular context, but I was fighting for my brother. And so what that has taught me about myself is that I am a fighter. I have within me the capacity to fight for other people. I have the courage to do that, right? I'm bold about that. What I'm learning, though, in this stage of my life is that there are different ways to fight.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes I don't need to fight because my automatic response is fight. But sometimes I need to just to lay back and chill and just let things happen.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
So I'm learning about the importance of really assessing a situation to know what is the best kind of a response. And I'm also learning what my tendency is, right, which is to fight. But I'm learning to kind of learn how to manage that, right?
absolutely.
And to allow others even to fight for me, which I'm not used to that. But God has blessed me to have people in my life that will fight for me. So I'm learning. Going forward, I'm more interested in learning more about me so that I can be more effective in whatever doors and opportunities open for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I like how you and that speaks to that whole thing that you were talking about earlier, blend your life, because we're seeing that play out, right? But I love how the fact that when I asked the question, you know, where are you going, that you said, I don't know. Because I need people to hear that when we get a certain age, we learned a behavior that we have to know where we're going at every step of every moment. Yeah. And we don't give the evolution of our lives time to just be dormant. And sometimes it just needs to be dormant. We don't always have to be busy doing something, right? And that's how I'm always trying to find like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Exactly.
And so sometimes the next thing is happening in stillness. And so I'm glad that you mentioned this whole notion of not knowing, but out of that, you do know that wherever I'm going, I'm a fighter. and I learned how to fight, right? We all don't have to cuss somebody out, be direct. Well, I'm just being direct or get people told. We don't have to do it that way. Sometimes fighting is finding ways and platforms or allowing others to fight for you who have the means to fight for us, right? So I'm glad that you illuminated that. And Lord, we are setting this up. We are setting these questions are a setup for the questions. I'm just letting you know. Stephen, if you could just tell us real quick, where are you going? Where are you going like right now? I already know who you are, but where are you going?
Well, as a person who will be having my 66th birthday in June.
Yes.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
66.
63 next month.
Cool. Right on. The thing about it is, people might ask, what does 66 look like? What does it look like? Well, my question is, what does it have to look like? At this period, in this phase of my life, I think this is the most, in my opinion, the most beautiful phase of my life. All of the things that I've gone through and all of the lessons that have been learned equate to volumes, like volumes in a library. Now, the question that I've struggled with and I've finally come to a realization is what do you plan to do with that? Because at this point in your life, you really do have to assess who you really are and where you want to go and what do you want to do with it. Do you want to sit on the rocking chair and watch the football game every Sunday? Do you want to just sit at home? What'd you do for vacation? Well, I just sat home and rest. Or do you want to find out who you really are, what you really look like, how to come to that point to where you find yourself being fearless, to where you can go and do the thing that you always wanted to do, but were afraid to do. We were raised in an environment, as I said, my mother was very fearful of everything. So we were sort of raised in this box, and that handicapped me over the years. However, when I began to break free and blossom, I realized a lot of potential within myself. Now at 66, I look around and I say, there's so much. It's not one of those things where I'm in a situation of if I had it to do over again, I'd do this or that. I am where I can do that. And I am passionate about doing what it is that I am put here, called here, and will do. And I say will as opposed to might, may, think about it, I'm foster, I'm gonna, I will. And that's where I am. I am in the I will stage of my life, and I enjoy that.
Nice. I love that. I will. I know you're very animated. I know it's hard for you just to be sitting still in front of me because you'll be all like this because we're just alike. But let me tell you, I am so excited about the I will. And what I heard in that is that what are you doing with what you want to do? Absolutely. Right. And so I love you naming and framing and pivoting what that looks like over 60 years old. What are you doing that you want to do? Right. What are you doing with what you want to do? Let me get it right. And then I heard you say something about break. You break for a while and then you blossom. You break, but you got to break free. And I heard even earlier in the conversation, Dr. Irie Session said something about she is free, but she had to break free to blossom. Yes. Woo-hoo! Yes. Now, you know what? That's a sermon right there in the Bible study series. I'm just saying to y'all, or a leadership, unit. And so that is wonderful. You guys are so powerful. So let's move to some of the more harder questions. Before we get to real quick, in 20 seconds or less, what makes you tick as Black seasoned leader? What gets you going at this stage of your life as leaders? As leaders, what makes you tick? Stephen.
I love to answer that one. And this is where that fear comes in, the fear of being ordinary. I do not want to die ordinary. or feeling that I have not used everything that's in me to accomplish the thing that God would have me to accomplish. Because there is a divine purpose to my life, just as there is to everyone's. I don't want to leave this earth and not fulfill that. I remember Les Brown saying one time, when I die, I just want there to be a pile of dust right there. Yep, he lived. He really lived. He used up everything he had. That's what drives me. That's what makes me tick. Not being ordinary, but fulfilling that God-given destiny that I have within myself. Boom. I like that. That's
yeah. Listen, I love the fact that you said it's not just about not being ordinary, but you said the fear of being ordinary, right?
Yes.
And so so that makes you tick. That makes just the whole notion of even thinking about, am I just ordinary? That's going to get you going. That makes you tick, right?
Because everybody has a different definition of what ordinary is. And my ordinary is not using everything that's in me to accomplish, to make my life be this wonderful thing that I know it can be. You see, and just not just settling, but moving and striving and always learning and always putting one foot in the other, not just sitting there, but moving in that positive direction. And that gives me the energy to impact and empower other people.
Woo, I love it. Come on, Dr. Irie. I don't even want to say no more on that. Come on, that's
all
great.
right. I'm gonna go quick. What makes me tick, what gets me going, is having the freedom to be creative.
Yes.
The freedom to be creative. Yes. Now, for me, the freedom means that I can control my own day. I decide when I get up. I decide when I lay down. I decide when I focus on this or that, because creativity isn't something that you could put in a box, right? So I've learned about myself when I am most creative, right?
Yes.
And so I've got to be able to be creative in the time and space that allows me to maximize it. And in order to do that, I need the freedom to do that. So that means, so I'll just leave it at that. That's what
I know where you want to go after that. I know where you want to go after that, Dr. Irie. I know, because I've sat with you long enough to know what you really wanted to say after that. And you are a creative person. I'm a creative person, and I know Stephen's, creativity, you just can't stay still.
Yes.
Even if you're still, you're not still. And so I appreciate that whole rubric of creativity, and people need to explore their creative self, but you have to be free within yourself to blossom, to create. So I'm just learning from the best here tonight. Listen, let me remind you to tell us where you're hailing from, what part of town. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, Essentials Facebook page, or even my personal page, go ahead and tell us where you are hailing from. Let's continue with the questions. I love this. Dr. Irie, Dr. Irie, let me ask you, what advice do you have for leaders who might be stuck or at a turning point in their life? What advice do you have? This is for both of you. What advice do you have for leaders who might be stuck? There are people who got to 60 or over 60, and unlike you all, that are stuck. They don't know how to get to their what's next. They don't know how to leave a job. They don't know how to not deal with, the ordinary. So help us unpack that, being unstuck, if you will.
I've learned as a 62-year-old woman.
All right, now, come on. Y'all see them throwing out them ages, right? I'm just saying.
I have learned that sometimes we're stuck for a season and a reason, right? So sometimes it's not so much that we're stuck, but there's something that we need to learn.
Yes.
Right where we are.
Yes.
Right? And so the time for movement may not be right now. There's something within this stuck place. I was stuck on a job. I kept trying to leave it. I kept trying to leave it. I kept trying to, I would apply for this job and that job and would never get it. But so that kept me in this place that I didn't want to be in. I was trying to get out, but no opportunities presented themselves. So there was still something left for me to learn about myself, learn about where I was, and prepare myself for when an opportunity did present itself. So sometimes we get frustrated when we want to leave someplace, we want to make a shift, but everything isn't lining up yet. And so, and that's that liminal space, right? But that's where transformation can happen, in that liminal space, in that space of right now and not yet, right? And so there's something to learn in there, right? But in that, be preparing yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be preparing yourself for where you want to go. Read. I took some digital marketing classes.
Yes.
I did, so that when the time the release came, I was ready.
You were ready. You were really ready. Yes, yes. You said dream big, and you dreamt big, and you went on. And I like that. I like that. And I like how you framed this whole thing around stuck for a season for a reason. And what looks like being stuck for some really are not stuck. It's just a season in which it is time to evolve differently, right? That you are, sometimes if you're in tune to the things of the spirit, when that shift is happening. Right. And that concurve
and
is
you just
happening.
You got to lean into it. You got to
lean into it.
And I want to say one more thing now, because sometimes we are stuck because we're afraid. We're stuck because we're afraid to step out. We're afraid.
Yes.
We know what we have within us. We know what we can do, but we're afraid. Capitalism has us stuck.
Yes.
Right? Because we can't see how we're going to make this money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so we're afraid and we stay. Right. So I'll just leave that there.
Well, I won't say no more. I'm going to let Stephen jump into that, because I might say something that you want to say. So go ahead.
She just hit on all cylinders there, because it goes back, seriously, go back to what I mentioned about the pandemic. We can use that as an example. And that was a thing or an event that caused people to stop. You couldn't go anywhere. You had to stay home. A lot of things transpired when people stayed home. Some things came out that under normal circumstances would never have come out. So we were stuck then. That was a major period of being stuck. But what did we do? One, there's a time for analyzation. I need to analyze myself. I need to reassess everything that's in me. I need to be honest with myself in doing that. And a lot of times we aren't honest with it. We take the path of least resistance. Yeah, but you don't understand. It's this way because of this. And it's this way because of that. But we don't take responsibility or step up. And as a leader, you must be honest with yourself. Because to reassess and to get yourself on track, that is something you have to do. The next thing is you may be stuck because you won't develop or those skills that need to be developed. So you're just in this holding pattern, wondering why did she get promoted? What they think about her. Why did he get promoted? He don't even have as much education as I do. You are just stuck because you choose not to move in the direction to enhance or develop your skills. And the third reason we can be stuck is because of fear. Fear petrifies. Fear puts us in a position to where we move along with the herd. Well, if we don't do it this way, it's dangerous out here. We don't have Sometimes you got to go the opposite of the herd. Yes. You got to invest the time. You got to be up at 12 o'clock at night working on things when other people are sleeping. You got to be working on things and getting your grind and your game on while people are watching a football game. But if they win the trophy, the Super Bowl, what does that do for you? They get an extra $60,000 or $1 million. What did you get? The satisfaction of watching the game. What are you doing for yourself? And that's where you have to unstick yourself. What are you doing for you? I'll be quiet.
Oh my goodness. Stephen, we're going to have to talk about your calling. Add another one to it, brother, because you're up here preaching. Both of y'all are giving really, really great answers. I love this because people need to hear, that life, the struggle is real. Life is real.
Yes.
And when you get older, these things come across because we're so busy. I think, I don't know if it was you, Dr. Irie, or if it was Dr. Tracy Blackman, or one of y'all, I was on one of y'all page about competition. We so busy trying to compete with what's already out there and doing what everybody else is doing. Listen, I got so free from that. I got so free from that. And I wish that we would learn as leaders that we don't have to do that. And, the majority doesn't mean that the majority is always right. And we got the whole story of Christ knowing that. And so I just want to kind of put that out. But let's keep moving because this is really good. And I love this energy. Is there anything as leaders, as Black excellent leaders, and throughout your whole trajectory, even to this point, is there anything you would have done differently? Anything comes to mind? A job, elevation, or a particular situation as it relates to leadership? Is there anything you would have done different? Tell us what you would have done different and why would you have done it differently is concise as you can tell us, right? Because we still got some plenty questions and we're almost like close to end of our time. So.
Well,
I might not have married my second husband.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Lord, when you ask the questions, you're going to get the answers.
Probably wouldn't have done that. But go ahead, Stephen. You go ahead.
Well, I like that. I'm glad I wasn't him. When you think about it, it's always the fact that hindsight is 20/20. Mm-hmm. I tell my kids, you make the best decision that you can with the information that you have at the time. And often we do things thinking that that's the best choice. And then later we find out, well, maybe I could have done something different. I look at it this way. There's a movie called James Bond. James Bond always gets his man or woman. God always gets his man or woman. So regardless of what decision that you make, it's still the ingredient that is going to be used to move you to where your destiny is going to be, where he wants you to be. He's still going to get you no matter what. So we can go back and we can analyze, and there's some things I wish I could have done differently. But had I done those things, would I still be the person that I am now? How would that have affected me in being the person that I am now? So do I have some regrets? No. But do I have some things that I probably could have done better? Yes. And that's why at 66 now, I can bask in the idea that I'm here. I'm healthy.
So let me cut you off.
I like that.
There you go.
I like that. I like
real quick because what I want to do is get to the nitty gritty. We need people to understand that struggle is real.
It is.
Name something that you've done you would have done differently. How about that? and you think about that. I'm gonna go to Dr. Irie.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I want the real McCoy here. I want people to understand there are sometimes we make poor choices.
Yeah. There. Looking back. There was a call to a certain pastoral assignment that I took that I would not have taken.
Mm-hmm. And why? Because
they were not ready. Okay, let me say this. We were not ready for each other.
That's good.
I am a certain kind of preacher and pastor and woman. This congregation thought, I think, they were able and equipped to handle who I was, but they were not. And I was not equipped, willing to, know how to diminish myself to be who they maybe needed. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So there were these unrealistic expectations that both of us had. So going back, and there were clues for me looking back in the initial interview that I had a check in my spirit, but I did not interrogate it.
Interrogation. Yes.
Right. So I would not have taken that. I would have said no to that job. I also was invited to apply for yes. So I'll give you that one. That's one.
I get it. And I know where you were going, but I get it.
Okay.
And this is real. We have to interrogate every position that we believe we're called to, or even others believe it for us.
And that's it, Victoria. Just because somebody thinks you would be good for this, and you would be, doesn't mean you need to take it.
It doesn't mean that you're a match made in heaven, right? And so sometimes we have to understand that sometimes positions we take on, callings, every calling, I mean, there are calls, and anytime we evolve, we can't just run to the first door that opens. And we have to understand sometimes closed doors are the best way to move forward.
And
closed
it's about really knowing who we are.
Yes.
And at that time, I didn't have the clarity of my own identity as a woman, as a pastoral leader, as a prophetic preaching woman that I do now.
Yeah.
I need the viewers to hear that. Sometimes we take on positions and roles and we don't have the clarity or we're not clear about how we should move forward in it, or even should we even take it. And so we have to be, because we're all going to make those kinds of mistakes, and we're all going to make decisions that would be like, make you go like Arsenio Hall. Stephen, do you have one? If not, we can move to the next one.
Yeah. This one's very important. It stuck with me throughout a portion of my life. And I worked in Colorado at one time, and I worked at a company that they really respected me. They admired what I did and the work that I was doing. And what can happen sometimes in your immaturity, I'd say, is you can grow, and you can take these steps. And what can happen is you can start to think that it's about you. You really can. You can start to think that it's about you because of the place that you have arrived, so to say. Yeah. And I had gotten to this amazing position, and I had an amazing boss, and the environment was very supportive. However, I have to admit, and some of you folks, you got to think about this. You get full of yourself to a degree, and you overstep your bounds by saying something that you shouldn't say to the person you shouldn't say it to. That started a chain reaction in my life. That started a chain reaction, and that was the beginning of a downward spiral. That one statement was the beginning of a downward spiral that lasted over 12, 13 years.
Wow.
And so the Lord brought me through it. I mean, so much I learned and gained from it. I would almost thank him for what happened, that termination, so to say. However, I wouldn't want to live that again. I would not. Just opening your mouth at the wrong time, saying the wrong thing to the wrong person can cause catastrophic results over time.
Good point. Good point.
That's good. That's good. Sometimes things we say, and sometimes things we do, and sometimes things that we take on can have a spiral. I think every great leader has gone through that.
Yes.
I know I have. Just have a spiral effect. And sometimes that's all people remember about you. You done changed, shifted, the world have moved, and you have moved on, and people still will hold that, right?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things you'll say, Lord, please forgive me for that. He said, okay, I've forgiven you, but you still got these 12 years you got to go through, You still got this. You started.
Oh, Lord. This is really good, rich conversation. And so I want to move on to this next group of questions, if you can. I know we run out of time. We always run out of time when we have rich conversations. The work that you do comes with a cost, and you kind of like alluded to it, right? The work we do as leaders come with a cost. Share with us how you have navigated disappointment and failure. How have you navigated? People out there need to hear. How have you, as seasoned leaders, something recent? Let's try to do something more recent.
I got something.
So I got something. Irie, you on fire? Go ahead.
I got something recent. I think Stephen said this earlier about being honest.
Yes.
I have navigated failure and disappointment by being honest with myself, as honest as I could, I have navigated it by seeking help, guidance from whether it's a spiritual director, whether it's a therapist, because I am a learner and I always want to understand myself and why this happened. What did I do to bring, even when people do stuff to me, I want to understand, but what was my role in it?
Sure.
Right. So with honesty, with seeking outside help, therapy, and I have learned, and I just learned this last month. I have learned when I feel humiliated, when I feel embarrassed, I have learned not to hide.
Say a little more about that.
Yeah.
Because the tendency is, my tendency is, if something happens, right, and I am seen as the one who did something wrong, right? I failed, right? This church, right? They voted me out, right? They voted me, but that's not what that's not the example I'm talking about. But that's what happened 5 years ago, right? The church voted me out, right? That's embarrassing. That's humiliating, right? But don't hide. The tendency is not to go around wherever they're going to be, or to stay away from places where people might see you or might ask you questions, or don't be who you were before this thing happened.
Don't let it drive you into isolation.
I am a public theologian, right? Sure. My stuff is everywhere. So my tendency would be then stop doing that, right? Because I'm embarrassed. Sure. I'm humiliated. No.
Yeah.
What I learned is people need to see you persevere.
Oh,
people need to see how you navigate this. Right? My daughter knows everything. She don't need to see her mama hiding. She needs to see her mama taking responsibility for whatever she did. She needs to see her mama owning up to it. But she needs to see her mama still loving and respecting herself and believing that she still has something to offer the world.
Ooh.
That's good. That's
True.
good. That's good. That's
True.
good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So
Very
what
true.
y'all heard from that, is don't go into isolation. Don't go running or hiding.
No. Now, isolation sometimes is good because you got to heal now. But it's temporary.
Yeah.
And it's for the right reason.
Right. But
it's
sometimes
not
people hide.
Ashamed. It's not because you're ashamed. Yes.
Right. But some people hide in isolation, though.
Yes.
Particularly people who are introverted. They will hide in isolation.
And that's me.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I get recreation and creation. Sometimes you hit these brick walls and something happens to you so devastating. You do have to go back, and coming from a consulting background, after we went to a facility or an organization, afterwards you had to come back and sort of reevaluate what you did. So you had to debrief yourself. So in debriefing, there's a time when you have to recreate yourself. Sometimes you do have to recreate after a tough fall. You got to come back. You got to go inside. You got to reevaluate and figure out a way to recreate yourself. And in that recreation comes creation. And God was a creator. He created everything. And that's a key to coming back. Making a comeback is recreating yourself. And in the process of recreation, there is imagination. And everything that we do and everything that has been created was imagined first. Faith operates off of imagination, because you're making something happen that's unseen, that doesn't exist at this point. So can you imagine it? That calls for recreation of yourself and a debrief and being honest, going right back to the honesty portion of it all. Why did this happen? How can I work through this? What will I do next? And that might take some time in that isolation. But boy, when you come out, you got to come out at some point. And when come out, what you going to look like?
All right.
Not
Well, thank
strong.
you so much, both of you, for sharing how you navigate pain.
Yes.
And disappointment. And so there is a question from the audience. Mr. Lewis Mitchell wants to ask the question. You both are very accomplished, but how do you tend to your heart, and where do you find haven? How do you tend to your heart? Now, here's the question. You both are accomplished. They're hearing all these good things and, all these attributes towards you and all this stuff. But how do you tend to your heart? And where do you find haven? That's really good, Lewis. Thank you for asking that. Pastor Lewis.
Yes.
All right. Stephen, go ahead.
I like that question. Thank you for asking it. How do I tend to my heart? First and foremost, I'm an introvert masquerading as an extrovert. I love that. And the thing is, when I go home, that's my haven. There are 4 places. Well, there are 4 places I do not like drama. One is home, one is work, one is church, and one is my gym. Those are places.
You might as well not live and exist.
Well, I'm saying those are places that you protect because there's the spiritual element that you have to go inward in. You've got to go in, and first you must be connected to God. You must have a strong spiritual presence and know where you get your strength from, and know that He is your manna. He is your everything. And when you know that and you go into your private place, then that's where you recharge. That's where you regroup. That's where you regather yourself so you can go out and slay dragons if necessary, because you're going to get beat up. You're going to get beat up, but you have to protect your heart because no one else is going to do that. You have to protect your heart. And I guess there's another part to that. There was an end part to that, and I didn't get that. But about the heart is what stuck out to me, because you have to protect your heart. I have to protect my heart.
Okay. Yes. Well, you already answered where you find haven. You already told us the 4 places you find haven.
Yes.
Brother, we're going to talk offline about these 4 parts, because that's where the most chaos happens.
Yes, it does.
Dr. Irie Session.
Yes.
Yeah. Stephen, I think me and you are the same person. My haven is in my home.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just my daughter and I. But this is heaven.
Sanctuary.
This is peace. This is sanctuary. We get along so well. And even when we have our little things where because we have cultivated such a beautiful relationship, we don't ever want there to be distance. So we deal with things, right? So that we can have the peace, the shalom, right, in our home. And the other place is in the company of my sisters. In the company of my sisters, one of whom are you. So I tend to my heart in my home and in the company of my sisters, and through journaling, which happens in my home, right? I journal, I write, I get it out of me, whatever it is, right? And so for some people it's prayer, but my praying is journaling.
You're writing,
right? For me, that's how it works for me.
I get that.
And then whenever I get to go to the Caribbean and lay on the beach.
And you do that quite often. I'm jealous, but I appreciate that question. Lewis, thank you so much for asking it, because it's very important for us to find, to make sure that we are taking care of the heart. And which means you got to take care of self to take care of the heart, and that, we do find, a safe haven for ourselves, right? Yeah.
You also, if necessary, you have to be able to cry. If you have to cry, you got to cry. You got to get it out. Whether you listen to some Edwin Hawkins, or whether you listen to some Tremaine Hawkins, or some BB and CC, whatever that song is that takes you there, you got to go there sometimes, because there's a cleansing in that. And when that cleansing comes, now you can probably get a better perspective on how to handle the situation. But to take care of your heart, you got to let some things go, and you let them go in the best spiritual way that you possibly can. Yes.
And I want to just add to that. So my safe haven, when you mention music, being a preacher, pastor, I don't always want to listen to church music.
I was
To be
about to
honest with
say,
you. I want to listen
It could
to
be jazz.
no,
Whatever.
but
I
listen,
want to hear some Rihanna or some
right,
Beyonce
and I want
or
to.
some Jay-Z or
Sometimes I
somebody.
want to listen to
Jay-Z, okay.
what I call
right.
high energy music, right? So I put on eon music or energy, high capacity or transparency kind of music where I can hear, like in the spirit, whatever is. So I mean, Buddhists and Hindus listen to that. So it's a form of meditation for me that I don't always want, because sometimes gospel music literally gets on my nerves. It give me a headache,
Now,
and so
I use that stuff for workout though. That's workout music.
What you just described, that's what I listen to at night when I'm sleeping. That helps me, that calms me and helps me to go
calming
to
music is what I should have said.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So the last question for the evening, we had several more, but the last question, well, I may make it a 2-part question. If you guys can really, really give me quick popcorn answers. Lord Jesus, I love my friends. We are all loquacious.
But you ask these deep questions.
I know it. I'm so sorry. I'm about to take the show to 2 hours.
Yeah, you did an hour and a half show.
Okay. What is your superpower?
Courage.
I knew you were going to say that because I heard that in the beginning, I heard it in the middle, and I heard it towards the end. And that is, that exemplifies who you are. Yes. You are a woman of courage. You are a woman of courage. Yeah. Yes. And so, Stephen.
Creativity.
I knew that was going to be yours.
It's a blank screen, and what you put on that screen, how you put the pieces together, how you make them work, and then you come up with something that moves people. When they see it, when they hear it, they're moved by it, and it causes them to take positive action within themselves. I love doing that. That's creative. Okay. I love that.
Last question, I promise. Real quick, because I have to ask this. How do you empower other leaders to disarm from the stigmas of other people? How can we help other leaders, our viewers, and people who will watch this on the replay and afterwards replay, how do we disarm leaders from worrying about what other people think or the stigmas that, people want to put on you, right? So real quick, take us there.
Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to like who you are. They're not going to like you. You can be the best person that you possibly can. Everybody's not going to like you. They're not going to like what you say. They're not going to like who you are. If you do A, they're gonna complain. If you do B, they're going to complain. You have to have a thick skin in leadership because everybody is you're a target in a lot of cases. So if you're trying to be everybody's friend and be a leader at the same time, that's not going to work. Sometimes you have to make the tough calls. You got to make the tough decisions. And whatever those decisions are, you have to be satisfied with them that you did the right thing. So that's my popcorn answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I would have to say it is a process of learning to accept and believe in yourself for who you are, that you've got to work on that. And you've got to answer the question, what are you so afraid of? What will it mean if people disagree with you? What will it mean about you to you? And you got to answer that question and then deal with it, because there's nothing that I can say to disarm a person from feeling that way. That's internal work. That's that internal terrorist that lives within that you've got to evict from your mind, right? So each person has got to do that work for themselves.
All right. We are disarming you by doing the work for yourselves and not buying so much into how others believe about, my therapist used to say, how people feel about you is none of your business. So that's how I take it. How you feel about me is none of my business. And so thank you for that. But in closing, I promise. I'm so sorry. How do you measure destiny, legacy, and success? Real quick. How do you measure destiny, legacy, and success? I used to have that question alone about how do you measure success, but I also want to know at our age, being 60 and up, that we measure success, to me, by how our destiny is evolving and how we are building a legacy. But how do you measure it? I know that's kind of deep, kind of like off the cuff.
Yeah, the first thing and the only thing that really comes to mind when I think about destiny, legacy, and success, how to measure it, right? For me, it is about the peace that I feel within.
I like that.
So my goal is to live with and be at peace within myself. If I'm at peace with myself, I'm a success. If I'm at peace with myself, then I have and am in the process of laying the foundation for the kind of legacy that I want to leave. And I'm living into my destiny, what I believe it is. So for me, it's, am I at peace?
I like that. That is powerful by itself. Am I at peace? Thank you for that, Dr. Session. Stephen?
I believe that, or I feel that when we are predestined to do what God has us to do, our destiny is in the predestination. And as we complete that journey, as we go on that journey, we're building our legacy. The legacy is being created as we move through our journey. And by doing that, we're rewarded and satisfied beyond anything we could have done for ourselves, because God knows the end game. As I said before, he always gets his man or woman. So the bottom line is, what he has planned for you through your destiny is greater than anything I could have imagined or we could have imagined anyway. So by fulfilling that destiny, we're creating our legacy. And at the end, boom, we're satisfied with the job that we did. And
All right.
That's how I view it.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen LeMons and Dr. Irie Lynn Sessions. I so really appreciate, we might have to have a part 2 somewhere down the line and finish this 60 and up conversation, because it's rich and people need to hear it. And they need to understand the struggle is real as leaders, and we have to be authentic in what we're doing. We can't fake the funk no more, right? And we can't, just do it because others are doing it. We really are at an age now, we either get it right or we don't, and we be okay with some things and not always having all the pieces. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. That's right. I appreciate the both of you being here. Thank you so much. Do you have any last minute comment for the viewers? Like 10 seconds. Steve, do you have any comments for our viewers?
I would say, look forward to aging. Prepare yourself now. If you're a younger person or a person in their 40s or whatever, prepare yourself now for 60. Look at how you want to envision, how you want to look, how you want to move, what you want to accomplish, and what you want the world to see of you. Prepare that now. Because when people see you, they say, oh, you are that? I never thought, because they don't know what that looks like. You set the example of what that should look like.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Session.
I will echo everything Stephen just said. So that's all I have to say about that. What I want to say to you, Victoria, is I want to thank you for celebrating 60 and over.
Absolutely.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak out of our experiences and wisdom.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's as seasoned. I mean, like, I have wonderful mentors and people who speak in my life, and one is back behind the stage. I keep calling her name, Dr. Elder Dorothy Harris. I know she probably saying, you don't have to keep calling my name, but I love her. I just love wisdom, and people need to understand wisdom is very important, right? And it's a gift. And so thank you for being a part of this segment, 60 and up Blackness. So let's go to our announcements, and then we're going to end our show. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this. Can we get our announcements up real quick, and then y'all hang there so we can talk right after the show? All right, we are still doing our series on evolutionizing my greatness. And listen, it's even getting better and better and better by each segment we are doing. And this segment is with Angela Harvey and Dr. Michael Elam. Hashtag trending forward, jolted, thrown, yet grounded. That's what we're going to be talking about. Jolted, thrown, yet grounded. Join us for an enchanting conversation with two exceptional leaders who have learned the art of leading with zeal amid turbulence. That's why we started this tonight. Now we're going to talk about turbulences in life. And you've been thrown around, you've been jolted, but yet you stood the test. You stood in the fire and you're still standing. And we're going to talk about that at our next segment. We have any other announcements? Yes. And so also, the person behind the screen is Crystal Glenn, and she is my engineer for this show and many other shows that she do. She is OG, and OG don't stand for original gangster, but it does stand for original only greatness, rather. And she specializes in live streaming production, graphic design, multimedia production. She is badsister.com. Okay. And so you want anything, just reach out to her, reach out to me, and I'll be glad to assist you. And so I am thankful. I'm also wanting to introduce, can we just bring her on? This is my good friend, Dr. Elder. Yes, I want everybody to see that how many people you know that is an elder, a pastor, a bishop, a teacher, everything will still come and assist me on my own show and sit behind the scenes. Not every great leader does that. And she's 60 and up. I just wanted to go ahead and expose her for doing that, right? And doing this work. So thank you so much, Reverend Elder, soon to be Bishop Parrish Harris. I appreciate you. You know I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Listen, we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right? Evolutionizing my greatness. That is the segment. See you later. See you next time.